Hi everyone, it is Mickey here from A Pretty Talent, where we use our God-given talents to make the world a pretty place. And today I'm going to completely deconstruct two books, or I think I will. We'll see how this ends up. But what I want to be concentrating on is reading these books to turn the images into pockets that will not be floating pockets. Now let me quickly talk about what a floating pocket is. A floating pocket is something like an envelope which is not stuck down in your journal but will be included in the journal and can be removed. So you're going to stick it into the journal with a paper clip or something. These pockets that we've been making, or mini journals, they are floating pockets. And so we've made a lot of floating pockets in the recent past. Just going to see what's next to me. Not that much in terms of pockets. I've got more envelopes next to me. So a floating pocket does not get stuck down in the journal. Whereas the pockets we're going to concentrate on making today, if this was a journal, this would be stuck down so that my tabs and journaling cards and things, that's very small. Let me just get a larger tag here. This is not really a tag. In any case, can be included in the journal like that, but the pocket itself cannot be removed because it will be stuck down, not floating, in other words. Now this is just the lingo of the game. You do not really need to know that in order to do journaling and junk journaling. Okay, so that's what we are going to be concentrating on doing today. I've got a couple of tags next to me so that we can experiment with them a little bit. Let me put this aside. I have these that I have been making as I've been reading books. This is from a fashion illustration book. And it's a little piece of an illustration that was left, just a tiny bit of it. And I just cut it to size and turned it into a corner pocket. So my tab will now, or my journaling card, or whatever it is that I stick in there, will now go into this, and it'll sit there on a corner of a page, a corner pocket. This is yet another corner pocket from a children's Bible. And here's something that you can consider. This one didn't cut to a straight triangle like this one. You see that sharp or acute angle there, whereas this one is not actually an angle. Right. Now, you have the option of giving this a little bit of a flap, right? And then whatever goes in here will always have to be this size in order to fit there. In other words, this would not be able to fit sideways. Can you see? It doesn't actually, it pushes that open. Of course, I can fit it like that, but that's not a really good fit. However, if I do not include the flap on this side, then this would be able to slide in there sideways. And that little bit that it's standing over on the side, that it's sticking out, that's not going to matter. So you may not want to add a little flap like that on this end. These two are sufficient. I included this one because I wanted to talk about that. Why would I have something like that then? If I have a journal where there's a lot of movement on it, then I might want to include that so that when I now put something in here, it's stuck in there a little bit more firmer than when it can slide out. I don't know. It's got to be an option you always need to consider. This one is from another children's book. Actually, that's from the children's book that we are going to be deconstructing today. And what I did here was I had this little bit of picture left over from another project. and I just folded 2 side flaps. So this will go, if this is my journal, pretend with, no, that's not a good journal. Let's go back to the previous one. Once again, if this is my journal, and this is a journal page, then I would stick this down like this, and it would be a sideways belly band. Normally your belly band runs like that, and things are stuck in like that. But this would be a horizontal belly band rather than a vertical belly band, and things would fit into your journal like that. I could fold away here at the bottom, but I'd be losing a whole lot here, and so I wouldn't want to do that. I could also, when I glue this into my journal, I could put a line of glue there, but I kind of like the horizontal belly band idea, so that's something else we're going to be looking at. Now here we've got a full page picture from the children's book that we deconstructed, what is it now? I think 2 videos ago. And what I did was to just fold over 3 sides, so that if this was in a journal, it would go into the journal like this, and it would be a side opening pocket. I would, in all probability, come in and, well, let me do that now. I would do a semicircle punch like that, just to make it a little bit more obvious that this is actually a pocket and not just a page. Now these are lovely to include in a journal. If you have a journal, I'm looking at what's available on my desk here. I don't have too much available surrounding. Okay, I do. No, let me just use what's on the table. So let's say I included pages like this in my journal. I can't write on this. If I want this to be useful in the journal, I need to work with it. However, if this page is included simply so that I can glue another pocket onto this and put my journaling space loosely into that pocket, then I can include many of these pages and still have journaling space, because it will be slit into that pocket rather than the page itself being the journal space or journaling space. Right, so that's a couple of ideas to bear in mind when we deconstruct the 2 books that I've pulled over. Now, these are actually 2 books that have already been deconstructed, but I'm on a mission to kind of finish my deconstruction of my weeding of these books. The deconstruction is done. I need to finish my weeding of these books so that I can decrease the pile of books that have, I've been visiting the charity shops too frequently, and my books have become a humongous pile that I need to pay attention to. Okay, so the book that I want to finish working on today is yet another children's book. And I love children's books for their illustrations. You have such a variety of illustrations and images and things in children's books that you wouldn't get in other books, because it allows for fantasy the way that other books don't truly allow. And so I love this. This is another German children's book, Mario und die Tiere, which translates, I have a very working knowledge of German. So someone who's actually German speaking out there, please feel free to correct me when I go wrong on my translations. But Mario und die Tiere, from what I understand, this would be Mario and the animals. So this cover will be turned into a journal at some point. I've got loads of covers already that are waiting to be turned into journals. I have started sorting the pages of the book that was left for me to work with. And I've sorted it into 2 piles. This pile does not have full page images. This pile has only full page images. So let's start with that one because we're a little bit more limited with this one. When I now look at this, I need to just quickly clear out some space because I've been piling things onto my cutter, which I will need to keep handy to use. Okay. When I use these full page images, I will have to kind of look at them. Does my cutter even fit in here with the camera here? I don't know. In any case, let's see. Because I've just simply torn the pages out, I will probably have to clean this up. I'm going to say this. This is a nice edge for junk journaling. You may not want to clean it up. I don't know. I'm going to work with straight edges now, so I'm going to clean that up. But you need to consider your journal and whether you actually want to do this or not. That's it's not a compulsory step, not in junk journaling. I'm then going to cut away the white. I don't want that blank space there. I'm going to lose a little bit more here. And that's what I'm going to be left with. Right. Now, I can cut away more here, but I think that'll be fine. Now I need to decide which side is going to be my opening for a pocket. Is it going to be the top or one of these two sides? And whatever I decide the opening is going to be on, that's not going to get one of these folds. I think I need to work with this. I've got a bigger one lying right next to me, but the space is a little limited, so I'm going to work on the small one. Scoreboard. It's a scoreboard. I think I would like the opening to be in this direction, which the person is facing. So considering my scoreboard, I now need to turn this over. And this is about 1/2 an inch, or, no, I suppose that's 1/4 of an inch, or 1/2 centimeter that we're looking at in terms of the width of these pockets. I just put this on the wrong side. Okay, well, the opening is now not going to be on that side. Let's put the opening at the top. Let me just see whether I was right on this 1/4 of an inch thing. Am I right? That's 1/4 of an inch, right? Yo, I can't see this. Oh, these things are... Yes, that's 1/4. That's 1/2. Okay, so I was right. It's about 1/4 of an inch. No, I'd make it just a little bit more. You work in eighths, don't you, when you work in inches? So that's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8 of an inch. Ugh, roughly, you know, you're going to have to decide for yourself, not the top. Don't go and put a line on the top now. Okay, so I'm going to put 3 fold lines on my image, or surrounding my image. And this one is now a top entry one. Okay, let's burnish them. Oh, and have you noticed how I will fold and open again? Because I don't want this bulk to fold onto each other. I want nice flat folds here. Now, once you've done that, you are going to take a pair of scissors, which honestly should take you go. Just a pair of scissors. And which side is easiest to see? Let me do this. I'm just going to freehand draw in these pencil lines, and I hope you can see the pencil lines better than the folds. Okay. It's a very light pencil, so I really hope you can see that. Now there's my pencil line. I'm going to just cut into, I'm going to cut it a bit of a more of an angle. You can even cut it straight, but I find that then sometimes you don't have quite enough fold. Okay, you want to cut that corner away so that when you fold this in, these two corners meet but don't overlap. There's still a slight overlap, so I'm going to cut this one away a little bit more. The minute you have overlap, you have bulk. You can rather have a slight opening than an overlap. You do not want bulk in your corners. If you have bulk in your corners and you still add a tag, then this is one. Okay, now imagine this was now overlapping. You would have, instead of the pocket top and the tab and the pocket flap, 3 layers. You would then have those 3 layers and still another layer where it overlaps, and that's a 4th layer. It's unnecessary bulk in a journal, which tends to create gator mouse in any case. And so that's why we cut away the overlaps. Right. And now you have a pocket that can be put in a journal. Now, what I would like to do is once again indicate the entry point. And so what I do for that is to just put a tiny crease right there at the entry point in the center. Doesn't have to be in the center, but more often than not you will work with the center. So now I take my my circle punch, and I insert it just ever so much, and it's not even a semicircle, it's just a bit of a circle that I cut there. And now it's clear where the entry point of this page is, or this pocket is. And if this was to go onto a journaling page, I would stick it down like that, probably a little bit down, so that if I had a large pocket or a large journaling plate or something, I'm just going to pretend to fold this one. I won't actually fold. Now, let me work with this. I've got this lying next to me. Oh, I think this would be too wide. I could slide this in here, and if it was longer, it would have space to stick out. Or, alternatively, I put it higher, and then I could put, I don't know, a sentiment or a decoration, or I could do something here. Again, speaking of decorations, I'm not going to decorate any of these today. I'm only going to show you how to weed the books. I'm not even going to fold all of the pockets on camera. My word, would that make for a tedious video. I will, as per usual, continue folding them afterwards and just do a quick recap on the video to show you how they turned out. But essentially, this is how we would be dealing with the full page pictures. Now, there were a couple that I thought we should take a look at, and this is one of them. These two pictures were next to each other in the original children's book. Now, I will know that, and now that I've pointed it out to you, you know it, but it's not necessary for us to work with these like that. This can be a picture that can live on its own. And this can be a freestanding picture on its own as well. Kind of prefer it that way because this boy is hunting those deer, and I don't like that. If I take the deer out, this is just a boy playing with a bow and arrows. If I add the deer, it's a sad story. So I like that these can be turned into two pockets, and I will not be using them together because it doesn't go with happy journaling. Now, if you're a hunter, you probably feel different about this, but I'm not, so yes, that's not how I would be dealing with that. Here's another kind of odd image where this boy kind of looks like he's drowning or something. I don't know. I would consider using something like this with the nautical journal that I'm making, and maybe images of people swimming and playing in the water and whatever it is. I don't know, but I can turn this one. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This doesn't have to be as ominous as it was probably meant to be. The rest of them, I think, are straightforward. Let me just quickly have a look and see. Yes, the rest of them were not really issues. We are going to encounter a couple more issues on the images that are not full page images. I'm just going to put that aside. Okay. No, I'm again. Okay, never mind. Okay. Now, when we work with the rest of the images in this book, and I will say this about this book didn't ever have any images back to back. I never had to choose which side of the page I wanted to use. That's always fortunate. It's a decision I hate to make. I hate to lose pictures. Sometimes I don't. I don't like a picture and it's an easy choice. But very often I would like both pictures on both sides. So if these were back to back, for instance, I would have a hard time choosing which one do I want to keep and which do I want to lose. However, this book made me very happy by not forcing me to do so. I am not going to straighten that side this time. And I will show you why in a sec. I am going to cut this now. Let me cut it differently. I'm going to make this a top-loading pocket. And therefore, when I cut this, I'm leaving myself a bit of space here to fold in. This I can fold in, and this rough edge, I'm going to fold in as well. I'm not cutting it smaller because then I'm going to start losing space that is part of my picture. So in this case, I am folding away. Instead of using my scoreboard, just folding by hand. I need to make a choice about that white line up there. I think I'm going to lose it. My folding isn't very straight. Yeah, I'll lose that. When I put this on my cutting board now, I can see that my pocket tends to go like this. To the naked eye, you will never see that, so it doesn't really matter that much. Now I can bring out my scoreboard again and fold on my scoreboard, or you can just fold it like this. Honestly, guys, scoreboards are nice to have, but not need to have. Okay, so there's the pocket again. Again, we're going to do the same thing, and I'm not going to continue doing this. I'm just going to walk you through a couple of these, and then we're done. Okay, what did I want you to see here that we didn't have on the other one? The fact that I chose not to straighten this edge, because you will not see it in any case. If I had cut a little bit off, I wouldn't have had enough of a flap, and it would have been a bother. Am I going to cut my semicircle in here? No. This is going to sit on a page like this. It's going to be obvious that there's a pocket, and I wouldn't have to. Unlike a full pocket that covers pretty much the whole page, this one will be obvious. Unless my background color is similar to that, I wouldn't have to indicate that there's a pocket here. If I cut the semicircle, I'm going to cut into the picture, so I choose not to lose that, and I don't cut the semicircle. So that semicircle, again, is optional. You let the pocket, the size of the pocket, and the illustration dictate to you whether you will use it or not. What do I do with these? I use these in collages. So I just keep these and I use them in collages. Honestly, yeah, I've got loads of scrap paper like that. Right. I think this one is obvious, so I'm going to leave that. These will be obvious. This used to be a single pocket, a single illustration, and when I use this in a journal, I will put these together. When I put them away after I've folded them, I will put them away, and when I use them in a journal, I will probably use them like this next to each other in a journal as well, because I like the illustration running through. What will I do then? Let me quickly do this, and I will show you how I would deal with this one. It might be worth a while. I am going to straighten this side here, cutting away as little as possible, okay? I don't want to lose too much in the illustration. Now, you can see I've pretty much got the illustration going still. Now let's do this, and I am doing this in one go. You don't have to, but I want to kind of save a little bit of time. Yeah, I'll go that deep, no deeper. That'll still work. Okay. This goes onto the collage pile. We're done with that. Let me bring this out. Let me put those aside. We're done with those. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to not fold back here, because I will be losing too much of my image. So I am going to fold on, I'm going to score here. And I'm going to score here. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And I am doing them together because I want to sort of leave that option of using them together. So let's fold that, and let's fold this. We'll fold that, and we'll fold this. Right, we're going to do a quick cut of these corners. Toss that. And now we will have two pockets in our journal sitting on two different journaling pages. Let's quickly grab two journaling pages. Okay. We'll sit like this on the two journaling pages next to each other. Top and side will be open. And to make that a little bit clearer, we do this together to save time. We can use a corner rounder, and now it's a little clearer that we've got a like a library pocket thing going here. And that's what I would do with these. And then, as I said, when I put them away, I would put them away like this until I'm ready to use them in a journal. Okay, was that a little too obvious? Am I being a little too obvious with this? I don't know. It's difficult. That's a straightforward one. That's a straightforward one. Here's a little bit of an illustration that's not so straightforward. How do we use this? It's a tiny bit of an illustration that is left. I would, in all probability, cut this whole piece out. Two options. Let me use my ruler to show the options. I could do a corner pocket here. Oh, I've got two rulers going there. I could do a corner pocket like that, but it's a tiny corner pocket and I don't really like that. I would in all probability rather cut this whole length out, fold back just the edges, and again rather go for the horizontal belly band. what do I do here? A little bit of stamping, a sentiment, you know, some words. Swim with the fishes, fly with the birds, I don't know, something silly. I don't know. You could do all sorts of things here on this side. But I like the idea of rather keeping the whole thing. Could I just toss this? Yes, I could, but this is not a bad illustration, and I would hate to toss it. I would hate to lose it. Straightforward. I think these are all straightforward, so I'm not going to bother with stopping for too long. Here's another one that's kind of odd and weird. So again, an illustration running over 2 pages. But not, this I like. Let's say this. I like this one. I can work with this one. If I hadn't shown you this, you probably wouldn't even have known that that's a human there. You would just thought it's some sort of color or rock or whatever it is. So that one I would use on its own. In this case, I'm not going to use the picture together. What I will do, in all probability, is to turn this into a corner pocket. This one lends itself to becoming a corner pocket. In which case I'll not leave this whole thick white. I'll cut a bit of that away. But I'll fold it something like this. And yeah, on this side as well. Okay, let me just do this because honestly, this is too much. Okay. I will lose that. I'm okay with losing that. Let me just get my little knife here so I can fold these flat. Okay. So here's what you now need to look out for. Let me cut that one away. And let me cut that one away. Remember, this is an optional side. You might not want to close this. When you fold this, can you see that this sticks over? So bear that in mind, and instead of just cutting it straight, cut down a little bit so that there's no way that it could ever stick over when you slide things in there. Yeah, not a fond illustration there. But that's how I would handle something like this. I did not straighten this edge here, although I probably would just ever so much so that things don't get caught on the unevenness there. But that's as much as I would do for this one. And then, how do you make this more acceptable? By what you add to this. I'm thinking gold paint splatters and all sorts of things to just pick it up and liven it and take it away from these cold, ominous colors. I'm looking at this and wondering if you can still use this somewhere. I would say yes. And yes, of course, you can do a corner pocket at the top. I don't like top pockets. I know that there are people who do the top pockets. So let me show you what I would rather prefer to do with this. I'm just going to line it up so I can cut straight, because this is going to matter. That would be the line. Okay, that we toss. I would cut away a whole lot of this as well, let me. Instead of using it as a pocket, I would much rather simply take a journaling page and add that as a decorative element. Pasting it down flat. However, bear in mind that if you have a pocket, I'm just going to pull one out here. you have a pocket here, and you have that, and you haven't pasted it down flat, and it needs something taller, and you put a tall tab or something in here. That pocket there, I just need to move this in, nothing is pasted down, so it's a little difficult to illustrate. That pocket there can work as extra support for keeping this in place, so that you've got two pockets keeping a large piece in place rather than just one pocket working with that, especially if this is something that has a bit of extra weight. So let's say this was a mini journal with loads of pages in there. Having something at the top to keep the weight in place is always a good idea. So that is another consideration for a piece like that. Right, let's have a quick look for straightforward. I love this image. I love this image. Not too sure about a snake. I like this image, but it is once again one that ran over 2 pages. And the buck was, well, cut in half. This is not a page that could be taken out as a single page. So when I work with this, I will cut away the butt of the antelope, because it would make no sense to keep it. And I would work with the tree as my focal point for the pocket. If I were to use these in conjunction with each other, let's test it, see how it works out. Let me not assume it won't work. We will cut away as little as possible. Wait, I'm on my page there. And if we were to do what we did earlier, using the 2 next to each other, actually there's enough left. I could do the same thing as with the previous, where were they now? Here. As with these 2. I could do something similar with this image. Or, as I've said, lose the envelope, work only with the tree, lose the envelope, the antelope, use the antelope and work only with this image. I have a couple of options. Because there are focal points on both pages, when I lose the antelope, I have 2 options now of how to use this. This is actually 3 full focal points. It's an odd illustration in that sense. Right, look at this. It's a lovely illustration. Another lovely illustration. See how these are freestanding illustrations that has no context if you don't know the story, and that's why children's books are brilliant for this. An absolute brilliant source of illustrations to be used in junk journaling. Yeah, this is sweet. I imagine this is him at a sick bed of a grandmother or a mother or something, whatever. This is a bit of a weird looking one. I would use this half an antelope, lose it. Wouldn't use that. Oh, I could do this. I can show you that. This lends itself brilliantly to showing you this. I'm right-handed, so I need to turn it over. I'm going to lose just a tiny bit here. And when I cut my pocket, I'm going to focus on this woman here. But this antelope, which I'm going to lose for the pocket, I'm going to cut out neatly. And I'm going to keep this whole thing as a belly band to be used in a journal. I have text here. It doesn't matter. I'll do paint splatters and stenciling and stamping and whatever I'll do here, and you won't even know. I will probably also not just use it as is. I've got this piece of paper. It's way too big, but in any case, it's way too big. I have to fold it down slightly, but in any case, probably mount it slightly. And can you see how this turns into a lovely belly band with no effort whatsoever? So don't lose off-cut pieces like that. They're useful. They're really useful. That's an image that's self-explanatory and you can use it quite easily. Okay, so that's that particular book. Let me just keep all its images together because I'm turning this into a bit of a mess here. Right. Now, I have another book here because I didn't want to make this only about one single book and how to deal with the illustrations in a single book. I have done that in a previous video. I don't want to repeat it. This book is called something. It's Ronald Searle, S-E-A-R-L-E. Ronald Searle, The Frozen North and Filthy, now I don't know how to pronounce that, Lucker, L-U-C-R-E. It is the satirical artist that I have referred to in previous videos. It's his book. And some of these are kind of funny, and some of them are satirical, and some of them are fine. Like this one, I like the satire in this one. I like the satire in this one with this, what are these, reindeer, right? And the northern lights and them all wearing the shades because the lights are too bright. I like the satire of this guy's work. It's not lost on me. I don't want you to think that it is. I always like these loose-lined illustrations. You may have realized that actually both of these are these loose-lined illustrations. That's a personal favorite of mine. It's almost like a careless rendering of an illustration, and I like that. It appeals to me. This as well, in this street where there's all this business and economy and commerce and whatever going on, this guy's panning for gold in a street puddle. And that guy's expression just says it all. So the satire really isn't lost on me. But this, well, let's quickly talk about this. This guy watching the telly with that physically on top of the telly. How many of us are doing this? We're glued to our screens when what real life has to offer, and I'm not talking about the sexual element indicated in this one. We're finding value in make-believe friendships and followers and supporters and people on our screens when the people who are truly present in our lives, who are there, are neglected for those who are temporary on the screen. Yes, any case. Let me not get all preachy on that. The thing that I don't like about this artist, and I know towards the back there were more of these, is that way too often, I suppose that's where that filthy part comes in, but way too often he has these naked or semi-naked, well, not often, he had a few of them. I think I've already gotten lost. I used up most of them. I got rid of them by folding them away in pockets and things. I actually think I've pretty much used up. Yeah, yay me. I can't find a single one like that. Okay, so the closest I can get to that now is that woman on the telly. Okay, anyways, I'm not going to keep searching. So when I now look at a book like this, and I want to turn this into pockets, because that's really what this is about. This is a book, which, once again, this I will use as a journal at a later stage. Oh, and by the way, if this is too big, this can be cut down. It can be cut smaller. Takes a bit of effort. I don't mind making large journals, so I probably won't cut it smaller. But this is just cardboard. It can be cut smaller. So don't think you're restricted to what you were given. You're not. The thing with this book is, unlike the children's book we've just been working with, and this will be true of most books you work with, you will need to consider both sides of the page and decide which side you like best. That small pan and this huge fish, really? How long is this family going to eat from that whale? The truth is, a whole village used to eat from this, but okay, never mind. I'm not into the whole whaling thing. I like this one better because the idea of hunting whales doesn't appeal to me, as I think to most of us are bored by it. This one that is fishing while eating an ice cream. This is funny. Not really. I'll eat ice cream in winter, I'll say that. But I would prefer working with this picture. And when I use this, I would use this picture. This is unnecessary because this is a huge page. I need to decide what I want to use. I can lose a lot of the blue. I can obviously lose all the white. This is an unnecessary image. I don't need that one. That one I'll keep simply because it's too close to everything else. But I would probably restrict my pocket to something like this. Here is an interesting one. Oh, I will definitely use this one. But let's imagine for a second that I didn't. This is a page that lends itself to a humongous amount of things that can be done. I would use this, or could use this as a belly band. I wouldn't, because of the spiritual implications with this. Okay, it's a personal thing. I wouldn't. But you could use this as a belly band. You could use that image as a pocket in itself, and you could still use this as a pocket in itself. I'd lose this whole page, and I prefer to use this one. This is going to be large. I can lose a bit of this. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's say I restricted myself to the bottom half of this, and I lost that. I would keep that as the start of 3 tags, 2 tags. You can decide for yourself. And I'd work with what was given there. I wouldn't lose it. I would use that. That's gorgeous. Love the colors there. Another alternative for this is to fold it because it's this big. I'm not going to fold it quite double because I want to straighten that edge first. I am happy to fold this because I will probably be doing this. I think I should just do it and get it over with, so I can give you a clearer idea of what it is I'm going to do and what I'm thinking of doing. First off, let me loose this edge. Right. Then let me loose. I'm going to have to, no, I don't have to. Wait. lose that. And let me lose that. Now I'm left with this. I like this for a couple of reasons. Let me lose that. This, as I said, I will keep using. So I'm just going to put that aside to turn into tags or something. This is not really what this specific video is about. But I'm also always looking for images that can fold like this, because this image I will turn into a mini journal. And I'll include a couple of pages in here, bind it all together, add, maybe I'll even use this. Okay, cut it smaller, add pockets here. I would love to use this as pockets. I'd round it like that. Yo, let me just do this. Without thinking too much about it, I would literally just round it like that. I am going to just cut these apart. And when I fold this into a journal now, I would make a pocket there and I would make a pocket there. My journaling pages come in here. And that would be a lovely little mini journal to include inside another journal. Let me get those pockets. See? Wrong images together, I get that. But I'd add it to a journal like that. So a mini journal inside a journal. That's what I'm looking out for. So when I look at images, I'm also always considering that possibility. Now, once again, personal preference and personal belief system. I would lose these totem pole images. I would cover them all together and then include these pockets. Right, did that give you an idea? So these are still fixed pockets, so we're still on the fixed pocket idea. I guess we're not too far away, but I'm going to leave that sort of, we can try and keep the books separated. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for in images like these. Again, having to make a decision as to what you keep and what you lose. I'm looking for things that would be new to what I've already said and not a repetition of what I've already said. I like this. I think we've pretty much covered everything. Too much desolation going on here. So lose the quiet bits. Use this for a pocket. Too much going on here, too large, unless you've got a really large journal. You need to decide where's your focal point. And yeah, oh, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on here. I will also say this. Remember that thing about dividing. In the previous book, the pages had divided an image. There is literally nothing stopping you from dividing this image here. Okay, let's say we lose the bottom because it's too large, and we lose the top because it's too large. So we're going to work with what's in here. Then this is still too large to fit onto a journal. So we're going to cut it in half. This will pretty much be a full page pocket on one side of our journal, And this one would be a half a page pocket on the other side of our journal, but we separate it and we create that separation. Whereas with this book, we were forced to work with the separation that occurred before we even arrived at the journal. So that is something else which you can look at doing in a journal when folding pockets. I'm literally just looking for things that I haven't said yet. Probably a top fold pocket. I would, when I cut this for a top fold pocket, I would be left with a little bit of typing here. And again, it's not going to bug me. Whether I cover that or not, it's going to be acceptable. Humongously busy. Don't ever include anything this busy. Yo. That half can be a pocket. Don't particularly like it, I will say that. And that can be a pocket. But all of this together just, yo. Okay, whatever. You know what, if you were to use this as a junk journal page, this is such a good start. This is such a good base to start from. I might not use this one for pockets. This as well. If I were to use this as a base and start building onto it, I could do a whole lot more. I don't have anything here nearby that I can show you. Do I? Give me one sec. I have these 2 containers standing on the back or on the table behind me, and they're not the right kind of images. They're not what I have in mind for this, but I will quickly show you this. If I were to use this as a backdrop to start something else with, I could rather quickly and rather simply start creating a whole new image. And that pretty much disappears, but it's not a blank page. And just see how quick and easy that was. Now, these are large images, so I probably will never use them on this size. But until I actually include them in a journal, they remain as large as possible, and I can decide how to cut them down. What about this one? This is another one to quickly show you. See how the busyness disappears in no time at all when I start adding things, and suddenly it becomes way more acceptable. Oh, I love this. Actually, I love this. I just love this. I love how that busyness of the city is now offset against the tranquility of nature, and the colors work brilliantly to illustrate this as well. Whereas the city is this black, colorless place, nature adds peace, tranquility, and color to your life. And this is a statement. Wasn't intended to be, but it became a statement. And that's actually exactly what I wanted to show you. That a rather horrendous page like that can be turned into something fantastic. When you journal with the right embellishments. I can't get those back properly now. This is actually a video about pockets, but I'm not going to turn this into a pocket. I loathe that little image there. Really don't like it. I don't like this image here either. These guys look horrible. I don't mind the top of the page so much, but I don't like the bottom of the page. But when I put the butterfly and the plants on there, then that becomes acceptable. So when reading a book, look for things like this. When reading this, when deciding upon a pocket on this page, forget about what's at the back now. Let's say I decided I want to turn this page into pockets. That could be a pocket. This could be a side pocket sitting on the side of your page. My goodness, okay, yeah. On the side of your page with a side opening. Yeah, I think you're starting to get it. I'm not going to bore you with going through the rest of this book. I think you understand what I'm saying about what to look for in books. And when you read these books that you've already deconstructed, to look for pockets. I am doing this, I'm trying to break this down for you. So I did this with envelopes, and then I did it with floating pockets. This kind of floating pocket and that kind of floating pocket. Today we're doing it with pockets that are not floating pockets, that are stuck down in our journals. But you can't actually approach a book like that. You need to approach a book as a whole and say this page lends itself to being a page. It doesn't. Okay, not this one. That page lends itself to becoming a journaling card. That page lends itself to becoming a belly band. That page or part of the page lends itself to becoming a pocket. That page will be turned into an envelope. You're really supposed to look at all of it together rather than in seclusion to each other when you read a book. It's a little difficult when you make a video to cover everything at once, and that's why I try to isolate the different ideas. But honestly, you shouldn't be working with a book like that. Did this help? Do you have an idea of what to look for when reading your books for pockets and things? I hope so. Don't forget the little off-cut pieces that can be turned into belly bands and whatever. Oh my goodness, this is such a statement belly band. This one says Vatican Pavilion, Billy Graham Pavilion, Russian Orthodox Church, Christian Science Pavilion, Latter-day Saints, Protestant Center, Orthodox Center, Garden of Meditation, and then Avenue of that was obscured. So I would actually not mind taking this out and using it as a belly band, because I do faith journaling and Bible journaling, and this is a commentary on the division of the church. Without saying any more, it is a commentary that is worth thinking about prayerfully. I will add the word prayerfully, because if you just think about it in your own, you're going to end up where this confusion ends up. But when you take that confusion to God, there's an easy solution. Shall I share that with you? I should. The Word of God has clear guidelines, which is not written into the church manuals, the handbooks of the church. If we are guided by the Word of God, the Bible, and the Holy Spirit of God, we will arrive at a place of love in the first place, and understanding and peace in the second and third place. I'm not deciding which goes where. The original church was confused and split already. And when issues of contention arose, they brought it to the apostles, who prayed about it and found solutions. But at some point, religion became a power play, and it became obsessed with money, and the result was mayhem. And for those of us who are not in a relationship with God, who only have this to look at, not the relationship, this looks chaotic, hateful, and divisive. But inside of a relationship with God, this does not look nearly as much like mayhem as it looks like Christian brothers and sisters in need of guidance. Any case, I'm really preachy in this video. My apologies for that. My point really was that I wouldn't lose this. I would actually use this. I'm not scared of looking at this. I'm not scared of addressing this prayerfully. I am scared of this not being addressed prayerfully. So I would rather use this than lose this. Any case, I really just wanted to show you how to look at books so that you can turn illustrations into pockets. And I'll be back with another video. I've got a couple of ideas still what I want to share with you, but I'll see which one comes next. So until then, cheers guys.